Hi, my name is Leif, and I'm here for the YouTube channel Home Slice. Today I'm just going to be teaching you guys how to draw a dragon. It's kind of like a basic tutorial. My cousin Teresa just asked me to teach her and to make a video about it. So since she lives in Minnesota and I live in California, it'd be hard to do it in person. So it's just a cool little video. But it's also for anyone else out there watching it and want to just learn a couple tips on how to make a cool looking dragon and for fun. Here's the basic stuff you need. Piece of paper. It's just like printer paper you can use. I use a ruler just to make a border around so it looks a little bit more clean. This is a Sharpie. I'm not going to be using the thick end. I'm actually just going to be using the thin end up here. An eraser. Pencil. Doesn't have to be a fancy one like this. This is a 2B for those who kind of know about the different strengths of graphite that you use. So you can just use a regular number 2 pencil. It doesn't have to be something like this. I just have one because I have one and it works well. But please don't use a mechanical pencil. And the reason why is because what you want to be doing is really just to be getting a very basic idea of what you're sketching. You're not doing a lot of hard detail with this because you're actually going to be erasing it eventually. The pen is the only thing that you're going to be keeping on the paper. So just use the pencil lightly and then we'll go over in pen what we want to keep. So that's why you don't use mechanical, and so it's a little hard to erase. Also, just color pencils. Doesn't have to be a huge amount of them or really nice ones. These are just kind of regular color pencils. Splash a little color on there so it's not black and white. All right, let's get started. You don't need a big fancy artboard like this either. You can just use a desk, whatever. And this is just what I have access to because this would be the easiest way for me to record. So first, let's do that border first I was talking about. So one thing I like to do is kind of just go the exact length here. So the bottom of the ruler here is at the bottom of the page. And then just go like this with the ruler down for sure so it doesn't wobble around as you're making your line. There we go, and then we're actually going to set down the pencil and use the bottom of our Sharpie, a thin point Sharpie, or even a ballpoint pen would work for this, you guys. So I actually found a Micron pen. These are super expensive. Would not recommend for beginners because you don't need something as fancy as this. I just happen to have one. I'm thankful for it. And we just are going over the pencil line of the actual border we want. So I went all the way to the edge of the paper. We're not actually going to go that way, all that far with the pen. We're just going here. It's just guidelines is what it is. All right, there we go. There's our border just to help keep us in line. Not go too close to the edge of the paper. Mostly just to help me. You guys don't have to do that. It's an option. A helpful thing to do for making art in general is always have a nice clean border. Alright guys, now we're actually on to the dragon part. What we're going to just start off with is a head. So just start off with kind of an oval shape like right here. I just kind of have this in my mind's eye. I'm not doing it from any reference picture or anything. So you guys can use a photo of a dragon if you want, or you can copy me doing this or do your own. But I'm just going to kind of teach you a little bit of basics on how I like to draw dragons. Next, we're going to draw a little circle here. That's going to be the nose part. And dragons are kind of like reptilian, but also bird-like, so they almost have like a beak, but they're also scaly. Mine's going to have some scales. That's kind of like finer detail you don't have to include, but it's cool to add if you want. Next, let's just add a reference point of where the eye is going to be, like right here. There's going to be another eye here, but we don't really see that because this part of his head is going to be covering it. Next, let's just do some big straight horns. And let's imagine this is the top of his head right here, almost like his forehead, right? So we'd want to draw that in. Here's another horn on the other side of his head. It's going to be kind of like his eyebrow. So let's have it mold into like right above his head. Right above his eye. Here's some nostrils and the front beak. So what I like to call this is the skeleton of the drawing. So you're just kind of doing very light sketches. You're just kind of doing it over and over again to kind of get an idea of where that is, and then you want to do bold, confident strokes with your pen once you come back in over the pencil. So the pencil you don't need to do strong, hard, confident lines because it actually makes it harder to erase. But basically, you just want the idea of where the dragon's going to be in the first place. Okay, next let's do the bottom jaw here. Kind of has a hard jawline here. And then let's start his neck. It's going to have kind of like a snake neck. It's actually going to curve around down here, so we're going to make kind of like a big S shape. And then the bottom of his neck. now here's his torso, his main part of his body, and his neck's gonna kind of naturally merge into that. Next, he's gonna have some arms, just have shoulder muscle up here, maybe a bicep and tricep here, which are like the upper part of your arm. Here's his elbow. Kind of just doing circles, kind of just mark the basic idea of what his body looks like. A forearm. And then let's just do some big claws. So we'll do like a couple of big points here, like his toes. And then almost like the back of a dog's paw or a cat, they kind of have this thumb thing further up here. So it's like right here on him. So that'll be a claw right there. And then sharp talons, kind of like birds of prey they have down here. I'm not going to be doing a background on this, it's just going to be the dragon just for you guys to know. And then here's where his toes join up with the rest of his arm. We'll do another arm. It's going to actually be here behind his body, so you're not actually going to see this, but this kind of helps your mind understand where his arm's going to be. At least it helps for me. His elbow again, his forearm coming out over here. And then he's going to have his claws like up in the air a little bit, like he's walking. So here's his big talons again. And then that little weird claw down here again. And then this is the part of the body we're actually going to see here. This dragon is going to have wings, but they're folded up. So we're going to have them like this. They're going to come up a little bit like this, but then go down, kind of like bat wings almost. And then it's going to have a big claw on the end of his wing like this. I'm totally just coming up with this as I draw it, so it's not like I really planned this out beforehand. Here's some big wings. Kind of has long wings, so he can carry his body weight right in the air as he flies. And they're folded up, so these parts of the wing are really close together. Then there's like webbed skin in between. Kind of connect that all together. Here's his other wing over here. And this is going to be behind his neck too. So, alright, and then the rest of his body continues with here. This is going to be his hip area and his legs. And he's going to have a big long tail coming around. So let's actually draw the tail first. It's going to go out of the frame, and then it's going to come back in the frame here. And it's actually going to swirl around like another big S. So you guys see that's the tail. The reason I'm drawing it here is because so that I can draw that and then draw the legs, because the legs are actually behind the tail in space, in terms of like the tail is closer to us theoretically. Here's his thigh come down here, and then unlike humans where there's the knee and then it goes down like this, we're actually going to have it come back more like an animal here like this, another part of his body. This is actually would be his calf if you were a person, right? This is actually like an elongated toe kind of thing here. That's kind of how animals, if you guys have a dog or cat at home, it's kind of how their skeletal system works. Some sharp talons on his toes too, right? Same thing, that back claw up here. And then his other leg's going to be here. And I know this kind of looks like a lot of circles and a lot of mess, but I can kind of see it in my mind's eye of what I want this to look like. And so it's coming forward here, and you're just going to have to use your imagination that you see it here. But in reality, it's bending back here, and then it's actually coming forward and out right here. And so this is going to be kind of dark because it's in the shadows, because it's behind him, right? So here's some more talons for you guys. His hips and lower back kind of transform into his tail here. Cool. Now I'm ready to actually go in with a pen now. So I'm going to start going over with pen. If you guys want to add more details, you're welcome to. It's going to be your dragon once you start drawing it. For me, I feel ready for the next step. So I'm going to start off with his eyes up here. Just kind of like, almost like cat-like eyes. I'm going to add his pupil here and his iris. Kind of like a slit instead of a circle. Here's a little light reflection. And then a little bit of a shadow in the actual pupil itself. And then color in this part up here. Let's just add some scales. So they're just like big circles under his eye like this. And then he's gonna have the horn up here. Remember, it's like his eyebrow turns into a horn. Now let's draw that forehead, right? Now you guys can have different kinds of dragons if you want. Like for example, if you want to draw a fire dragon, maybe draw parts of his head that look more like flames or something like that. Like it would be fire. Mine's just kind of like a regular dragon. He doesn't really have any special abilities or anything. Maybe your dragon breathes lightning out of his mouth, or maybe like poisonous gas or ice. So you can like imagine all these different kind of like elemental stuff that he's using as his powers, his magical dragon powers. So you can use your imagination here and your creativity. For me, I'm just kind of giving you a basic dragon, and then you can kind of switch it up and change it up as you're drawing your own at home. Here's his nostrils. Here's his beak kind of thing. Should the dragon have some big teeth? Yeah. Here's his other eye I'm just drawing real quick. It's kind of like just a sliver because you can't really see all of it. Yeah, let's give him some big teeth. So here's the rest of his mouth, though. He's kind of giving us a big grin. They can be the same length or a different length. It's totally up to you. And then as you get closer to the back of his mouth, the teeth become smaller. You don't see as much of them. And he's got kind of some skin here that's being folded up because he's smiling so big. Now here's his bottom jaw underneath that beak. So there's his head. Actually, let's finish it off right up here. Maybe some more spikes coming in the back. Now let's transition to his neck. Let's do the bottom of his neck. Here's his shoulder muscle. It's coming up here. So we'll just draw a basic element of that. I just like going in for the next part, which is the spikes on his wings. Although we should just finish the neck off while we're here. Don't completely fill in the circles here for the muscles on his back because that's not really how muscles look. The folded up skin, if his wings were, think of it like this is his wings, right? And then he spreads them out. There's going to be like skin in between, kind of like they're almost like limbs or fingers, but they're wings. And so think of the skin folded up since his wings are all folded up like this. So I'm just kind of like, the webbed parts are kind of folded up here. Sweet, there's that wing. Should he have spikes on his back? Yes. Going along his like spine vertebrae, right? And the reason I'm doing the spines first instead of this other wing is because this, like I said before, there's different dimensions of space where things are closer or farther away from you and you're trying to imagine that in your brain as you're drawing something. And so, for example, this wing is closest to us. The neck is kind of a little further away from us, but the wing is closer than the neck, and then even further away from the neck is the other wing because it's on that other side of his body, right? So you're imagining that. So I like to draw what's closest to you first, and then what's a little bit further away, and then the furthest away for drawing with pen, because that way you know what's coming first, and you don't draw what's behind it and then try to come over with what's in front of it and then cover it up. The spines are in front of the wing, so that's why I'm drawing them first. So when I go draw the wing, I know exactly what's going to be in front of it already. So since the neck continues down into the belly, it's going to be, instead of like more fish scales or like reptile scales, if you look on the underside of one, it kind of looks different. So for me, I'm just going to do lines like this. It's kind of just how I've usually done it to show the belly part of the dragon. I've been drawing dragons for a long time, so I kind of done them in a bunch of different ways, but this is one way I kind of gravitate to first, or one way I like to do first, more than the other ways. Since this is the middle part of his belly right here, maybe it slopes down into like a triangle shape like this. So as we get close to that, we'll kind of add a little bit bend to those lines. See that? Like a bend. So imagine that middle. If it helps for you, you can get your pencil and mark that out. So you kind of, here's that middle part of the belly right here. And that way you can bring the triangle points to that middle part of the belly. And then now, his belly is turning into the other side. So again, let's just go back to a regular straight line again. Perfect. All right, so now since we have this front part of the belly here, let's do the arm that's behind that. Here's the bicep, or the upper part of the arm. Here's the elbow. Whoop. Super cool claws. Your dragon does not have to have claws. If you don't like big scary claws, it totally doesn't have to have any. Let's do that back leg that's coming down here. Actually, let's finish up with his belly up here. And then you see how I drew the circle here to mark where his thigh and hips are? Here's that big thigh. And then the belly is kind of sloping up to that point. So here's that continuation of the belly up here. We'll draw more of those lines, right? Perfect. That other back thigh is here. Remember, we're imagining it. It's coming down here. I only see part of it. Now this right here's the kneecap. Oh shoot, we forgot. Let's add the tail now, because the tail's going to be in front, right? We're working on what's closest to us first. That was my fault. So the tail's going to be a little bit in front of this leg. So now here's one thing I want you guys to think about is there's the spinal column here going down with his spikes sticking out of his spine, right? We're actually going to have the tail twist around, and his spine continues all the way down into his tail. So he's going to have those spines going all the way through. And so this line here is actually going to be the spine. So I'm going to draw first, and that's where the spikes will be. And then the rest of the tail around that, I'll draw afterwards. So here it's going to come down. Perfect. So now let's add those spikes so we know that this is the spine. And here's his back leg. Oop, coming up here. Now let's finish off that tail. So we're going to draw the bottom part of the tail now. And it's going to slope around like this and actually crash right here right into that scale. And it ends right there. Let's draw that bottom belly part. Cool beans. Next, we're going to have this bottom part of the tail come out over here. That looks kind of weird. There's the end of his tail. If you want, you can add like a cool triangle spike or something like that. I just wanted to end it like that, more like a snake tail. So I kind of messed up here. If I would redo it again, maybe I should have done this in pencil first. Silly me. One thing artists do is when you make a mistake, don't get upset about it. Instead, see it as an opportunity to make it different than what you originally thought. One thing that happens a lot is like you'll spill paint on something, or you'll mess something up because you're human. You make mistakes. I make mistakes. Like I made a mistake here, but for me it looks like a mistake because this line's like goes from really thick part of the tail to all of a sudden really thin part of the tail. It doesn't quite make sense. I would have liked more to have a more smooth transition as I went on. So one thing you can do is just fix your mistakes by changing it up, adding something different. So I'm just going to continue this belly part to actually increase the size of the tail a little bit different than what I originally imagined. Okay, there's that. Now what we want to do is finish up that leg, right? So perfect, there's that. I personally think we should probably do some scales. Give him some protective armor against the bad guys, right? First, let's go in and erase all the pencil marks that we have. Ready? We're just gonna go over everything since ink has dried with the pen. We're just gonna erase all the pencil that we added. Cool, all right. For the scales, we're gonna kind of just do circles, and they're gonna vary in size. They're gonna be super small circles around the finer, thinner parts of his body, but then like thicker parts like his arms, tail, and thigh, and things like that. It'll be bigger circles, bigger scales. Cool, let's just go through it and add that first. Now it's kind of hard to differentiate between teeth and the scales. One thing that I'll do to prevent that for the end product, because I always want to be thinking about what the end product's going to look like. Since I'm not doing black and white, it doesn't really matter to me because the teeth are going to be white per se. They might be yellow or black or whatever you want, but I know the scales are going to be a different color than the teeth. So I don't mind having a little bit of similarity looking now in the black and white part, because then once I go in and add color, we'll be able to differentiate between the teeth and the scales. Same thing, the belly is going to be a different color than the main part of the body. So even though the lined part of the belly and the scales are going to look kind of similar right now, later when we add color, it'll be a little bit easier to differentiate. Now, let's move on to color here. I'm going to just change positions. Since the main part of his body, most of his body is going to be red, let's start with the red. Then we'll add the other colors later. This one's called red-orange. I don't know if it looks pretty red to me. I don't know why they said red-orange. You can start anywhere you want. I'm going to start with this part. And in terms of how you're applying the color, just do really light at first. It's easier to go light and then darker if you want darker. When I say darker, I mean like pressing harder, not a darker color. If you press really hard, it will have a stronger, more vibrant color. Vibrant kind of just means like bright and pops out. You can do that. But if you want just kind of like a soft color, it's easier to do it and start off with that first. And if you like that, keep it. But if you don't, then you can go over again with multiple layers of that or going over pressing harder into the paper. I'm just going to start pressing pretty light. This guy's turning out pretty cool, huh? Sometimes one thing that's good to do is like step back from your work after you've been working for a little bit like this and just kind of like look at it from a distance, like a further distance. Like, okay, now that I'm further back and not so close, I can see like, oh, maybe I need to work on this spot, or this spot, this spot. And so you can kind of see a better perspective of like, this is what I need to work on next. Sometimes when you're super zoomed in and close like this, you're missing some of the other details that you wouldn't notice unless you were further back. So it's kind of good to get a little further back like this, maybe like step back a couple steps away from it and look at it for a second. Okay, I like it. I like the way this is looking. Thought we were done with the red there for a second and I looked at his head. Alright, see how there's the teeth. I don't want to mark the teeth red, right? I mean, maybe you want the teeth to be red, but for me, I want to make the teeth a different color. Maybe just leave them white, and so I want to see them. So I'm actually going to go really hard, press really hard pencil here so it makes it really strong red against the white. And that creates what's called contrast. And when you have something really dark and really light next to each other, it really makes one of them stand out, especially with brighter colors with a bunch of darkness around it. And so, for example, the white teeth, I want them to really stand out. So I'm doing darker red around the teeth so people can really see up close and from a distance that they're teeth and scales and that they're different things. I don't want them to look the same. One thing I would like to do, you guys, and maybe you guys can do this too, you can stop the video at some point and do this, but I probably should have said it earlier. But maybe for next time when you guys are doing your next dragon drawing or whatever you're drawing, maybe a butterfly or something, or a seahorse or a toucan. Maybe next time what you could do is once you get to the black and white part and you erased all the pencil and you just have the dragon or whatever it is, just black and white with no color. One thing I like to do is you can put it in a printer if you have like a printer or a copier at home. And you copy it and then you can make multiple copies of it, black and white, and then you can do a bunch of different colors of the same drawing. So that way you don't have to draw a whole nother dragon. Just be like, maybe at the end you're like, maybe instead of red I wanted to do blue. And so you're like, I wonder what this dragon would look like if he was blue. So this way, if you have a whole copy of the same dragon, instead of having to draw the whole thing again, you just have another dragon ready to go, and you can use a different color and add a whole different colors, and you can make as many different dragons that look the same, black and white, but then when you add a color they look totally different, and they can be different types of dragons and stuff. So that's just something I like to do sometimes. You can try too if you want. Alright, we're good, you guys. Let's put away the red. Now I'm thinking yellowish color. Let's go and do the belly. So next, let's do the spines, the spikes on his back. And remember I said I was going to do those darker, so what darker color should we do? So this is violet, right? Violet is more purple kind of color. Here's a pink. Let's start off by doing pink up here, and then as it goes further down the body, turn it into like a dark purple. So it's kind of like, it's called ombre, when it goes from like a lighter color to a darker color, or one color to another, and it kind of blends. Let's try that. Let's take that yellow again. Let's pretend that this part of his body up here, the forehead, is yellow, right? It kind of starts turning pink as it goes down. So, well, these first couple spikes will be yellow, and then we'll actually go over with the pink and kind of like add just a little bit here, a little bit here. Might even be kind of hard to see, but we could even do some on the ends of his horns too if you guys want. Adds like a cool splash of color, a little bit different, a little bit special and unique. Looks kind of pretty. Maybe on the tip of his beak too. Beautiful. Alright, and then going back over on here so they kind of blend the yellow and the pink together. Not pressing super hard, but a little harder. And now it's just going to be straight up pink right here. You guys see this white part in between here? It's really bothering me right now because I realize technically if we're imagining, right, the wing would be kind of coming out from here, almost like an arc shape. So let's just add a little bit here. Just kind of imagine there's parts there kind of coming out. So just so it doesn't bother me, okay? We'll let that dry. So we're going to take the pink spikes down here further along on his body, starting at his tail, right? Kind of more wave shape. And now what we're going to do is same thing like we did at the top of his head, where it blended from yellow to pink. Let's have it blend from pink to purple. Let's go back over with red again and just go over that spot. And just cool. That looks a little bit better now, doesn't it? So you guys see the ombre kind of goes from like a yellow to a pink, and then as it goes here, pink to purple. So it's kind of cool. Let's do the same thing with the little thumb spikes on his wings. Pressing pretty hard to really bring out that color. I don't know, does that look kind of cool, you guys? It's up to you. Sweet. And then let's make his eye pink too. So we'll go in this part, it's normally white on a person. Let's make that pink. And then that actual pupil, the very center of his eye, purple. And then the last part is just his talons, those cool claws at the end. So I'm just going over and making the bottom parts of the talons pink, and then we'll add that violet or that purple later. I'm just going over with the violet, purple, and making that ombre claw kind of style. Alright guys, now at this point what you can do is if you want, you can add cool background color here inside the borders. I like leaving the border white because it really makes your eye focus on what the actual painting is inside. So let's just do a super light background color. We don't need a whole detailed background, but just background color. And since the dragon is red, let's do like a very light blue. And I think that would look pretty nice against the red of the dragon, the yellow of the dragon. And red, yellow, and blue are called your primary colors. And those three, if you have those, if you mix them together, you can make all the other colors, which is pretty cool. So we're super light and just kind of covering like a big area. Last little detail, you guys, just the last thing. Hey guys, if your dragon isn't looking exactly like this at this point in the background, I just want to say that's cool. I used to get frustrated when I was younger when I was trying to copy someone else drawing something or someone was trying to teach me and then it didn't look exactly the same. But what I learned as I got a little bit older was that actually that's okay. I don't need to make it look exactly the same because I kind of want it to be my own. So what's nice is you can have your own kind of dragon the way it looks a little bit different. It might not look exactly the same as mine. Maybe you want it to because you're trying to copy the same dragon I'm drawing. But if it doesn't look the same, that's okay. If it does, that's cool. You have a new dragon drawing. You still did it and it's still yours. You still made it by yourself. But I just want to encourage you that if you are drawing right now and it doesn't look the same, and maybe you're like I was when I was younger and you're feeling a little bit frustrated, you don't have to feel frustrated because you're learning, and it's gonna help you actually be better as you get older, and keep practicing and keep trying it on your own and doing different dragons and different drawings and things you want to create. And ultimately, I just want you guys to know that I don't necessarily expect you to make it look exactly the same. I expect it to look a little bit different because that means that you're including your own style into it, and it's your own handwork. So I think that's something to celebrate, not something to get frustrated about, although I totally understand because I was the same way when I was younger. So maybe you guys are at that point. Maybe you don't feel like you're artistic. Maybe some of you guys watching, not all of you, but some of you guys feel like, no, I'm not an artist, I can't do this. But sometimes it's about taking deep breaths and just doing it step by step and focusing on the little things. And then when you put them all together, form something bigger that looks pretty cool. But you wouldn't necessarily think you'd get there if you try to do it all at once. But if you take it step by step and take it slow and stay calm and stay confident, then you can do it. Alright, you guys, there's the blue background that we talked about. It's super light. It's not like very dark blue. It's just kind of a light blue. It's kind of nice. So there's our finished drawing. So I'll hold that up to the camera so you guys can see. A little bit closer. Whoop. There's our dragon. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining today, you guys. I understand that the video is a little bit on the longer side, but I appreciate you sticking through it and working hard and following along, drawing your own dragon. Here's my dragon, the done finished piece, as they call it. I'll sit that there on the bed. And so just want to say thank you, Teresa. If you're watching this, I hope you enjoyed it. Now you know how to draw a cool dragon. And I'm sure yours looks really good as well. It's so cool. I love that you like creating art, and keep doing your best and keep practicing. So thank you guys again for everyone who's watching. And thank you for checking out this YouTube channel. There's a bunch of awesome other videos that we're probably already have some uploaded, and we'll continue to upload just as a family working together to share a bunch of awesome stuff. So appreciate you guys.